This is Trendset of the Mind, and that's Argos, and today we're going to be going over the alien theme that has been upkept through Hollywood for many years and some of the possible reasons why this might be so. In order not to get too sidetracked, more specifically we will stick to the films Man of Steel and the Transformers franchise. If you would like a deep dive, my last novel, Voluntary Society or Oblivion, goes over the following topics which may interest you. The astounding number of deaths that occur within NASA, and you should look up what that means in Hebrew, especially since NASA is such a small company, and that most likely space technology is mainly updated for increased military weaponry and surveillance. That while UFOs are often sighted worldwide and the remains are kept under lock and key by all governments, we should also be aware that with such technology, they could not only be testing it, but also capturing human beings to experiment on us, and anyone who would call them out on this would automatically be thought of as crazy. I talk about the pre-planned conspiracy known as Project Bluebeam, and how a divine encounter through holograms could serve to unite mankind under the New World Order, that is. I point out the many inaccuracies of the supposed moon landings, and I'm not saying I don't believe that we went to the moon. I think that we have, and probably even Mars, just not in the televised way that happened during the Vietnam War. There's a lot more propaganda behind that. What else do I talk about? Antarctica and the stuff that is hidden at the North and South Pole. I go into Hollow Earth, the theory of a dome, flat Earth, and if there's any truth to any of that, or if it's just fake news to distract us. I go over the different types of aliens, if indeed there are, and the methods that they might have had of travel, such as wormholes and stargates. So anyway, if I'm starting to lose you and you think this is just another conspiracy channel, as I do with all my work, there is a list of resources and references in my book so people can do their own research and make up their own minds instead of just following funneled mainstream opinion. So, getting back to the movies, it is made apparent that when man was still young, sometime in prehistory, there existed two factions that came to oppose each other. If you examine early statues and depictions through artwork, it would seem as though early civilizations were doing their utmost to describe things that were out of this world. Truly, in a time when science was considered magic, wouldn't technology like flying ships make aliens appear to us as gods? If you have studied the ancient culture of the Sumerians, the primordial civilization, it is shrouded in much mystery and strange phenomenon. If one does come to believe in the alien race known as the Anunnaki, their story corresponds exactly with what is portrayed in the films. These two factions, on the one hand, the Autobots and the Decepticons, on the other, the military power led by General Zod and the intellectual scientists led by Superman's father, have their home worlds destroyed, Cybertron and Krypton, because of a war. The ancient hieroglyphs of Sumer point towards a disagreement on the treatment of us human beings, and they also have the same history described. From them, we survived that much genetic engineering was done, which is why there are so many myths around the world of half-creatures, hybrids, such as centaurs and sphinxes, and that these giant Anunnaki creatures treated us as slaves once they modified us to their liking. If you are thinking how all this correlates to the movies, the directors convey this idea between good guys and bad guys, the hero side who fight with us or for us, whereas the villains seek to dominate us, since that is the natural order in their eyes. What's more, it is rumored that the elites of this world know all this and many histories besides, and either descend from them, these aliens, through blood, or are working for them so that they can live like kings and provide their masters with fodder and an ignorant workforce. We may never know any of this for sure, but there are certainly many clues left behind in these films. Such as, you have the discussion of worthy bloodlines, and like I mentioned before in my videos, especially the Avengers Infinity War, the idea of eugenics that the elites cling to, since they view themselves as superior to all of us common folk. Clark, Superman, is told by his real father to guide them, since it is the plutocracy with their wealth and ideas that guides humanity, but always from the shadows, because quote, can you imagine how people would react, unquote, if they knew the true origins of mankind and the secrets of the universe? And they also, in both movies, reference how they really do not want humanity to make the same mistakes of the Transformers or of the Kryptonians. And I think we already did, probably on the moon or Mars or even Atlantis or Lemuria. In Superman was the future, the codex, and I think that the elites also think they hold the future, and without them, humanity would be unordered, or would have disorder. And I think it's funny how you have these big epic battles in Transformers, or in Man of Steel, you have them flying over in their jet crafts. Meanwhile, you have all the peasants working at IHOP and just doing their everyday things, showing how the elites operate on levels far above us. If you look at the Rockefeller building, there's a statue in front in Greek mythology of Atlas, who shoulders the weight of the world, and Superman's mom here on Earth says, it's okay, your shoulders can bear the burden no matter what may come Superman's way. And there's at least two instances, one when the oil rig is about to explode and he has to stand there and while it's falling make sure that all the workers escape, and then also when he's destroying the world engine, he kind of hunkers down and then shoots up, showing that the elites view themselves as gods, titans, whatever. Let's see. This does come with drawbacks though, because, quote, the foundation has to be built on something, says General Zod, unquote. And he says this when we see all the human skulls symbolizing the depopulation tactics, such as the global warming agenda, that there's too many of us, not enough resources, look at the impact, we're killing the world, as well as the war propaganda, where we go fight for the elites, but we're told it's for freedom, it's to protect this set of freedoms or whatever it might be. Or even the politicizing of science, where they take over all that we think and all that we do. What else? Quote again from him, General Zod, the fact that you possess a sense of morality and we do not gives us an evolutionary advantage, unquote. So many movies, they're just injecting their mentality for us to pick up on. And that has led to us thinking of them as reptilian or as sociopaths or as cold-blooded because they have these kinds of thoughts. Quote, again from him, "Every action I take, no matter how violent or how cruel, is for the greater good," unquote. That being the purpose of the New World Order under the elite banker dominion. What else? Basically what I'm trying to say is that there is a plan for you and for I, and things that you're seeing on the news, like I mentioned before, Ukraine, viruses, whatever. Just turn off the sound, put on mute, and just look at the news, and you'll see vote for this side, or we got to fight for them, and you could just see it's all a script. It's just meant to play on your emotions. None of it's happening randomly. It's all by design. And so now for just some little tidbits, some little hints, some clues for people who are really looking into these movies. Very subtle. What sports team is the Kansas City baseball team? What is it? The Royals. And you even see Superman at one point wearing the t-shirt of the Royals. When he's younger and he's getting bullied, what book is he reading? Plato. He's reading a book by Plato, who held he was under the persuasion that the aristocracy needed to be there to guide mankind. What else? When General Zod sends that message saying, "Bring the alien forward, he's one of us." And so he surrenders himself as a sacrifice, much like the Son of God, since he is more or less a son of a Kryptonian. And when he does surrender himself to the military forces, you only see his outline, and you mainly just see the sun behind him, the sun being a universal image of God. All of this adding up to the divinity of his character. According to the Jewish tradition, when you reach 33 years of age, which he admits that he is, that's when you're considered to be fully a man and you've reached maturity. And also with this Jewish faith, you have Elohim, or Kal-El, and that symbolizes the creator of man, since according to the Anunnaki, they gave us our soul through genetic manipulation. If you look at the ships that these alien invaders come in, they take the form of an insect, more in particular a scarab. And just like honeybees who have a queen, and just like the fleur-de-lis, the scarab was the Egyptian symbol of royalty. So you can take all this with a grain of salt if you want. I'm just trying to make a case that they are leaving a lot of clues in their films. Speaking of possibly retro-engineered alien technology, the recommended reading for today is the Perennial philosophy, written by Aldous Huxley, who actually was part of the elite's inner circle. And this is just more or less spiritual teachings from all of history, all of time, and just showing that they have vast libraries. They have so much leisure time to just read through all of this, whereas all of us are just working our 9 to 5s trying to get by. And they're just so wise. They're so many levels above us because they think that they come from good stock. And what point is there to educate us? Because especially when you have an educated slave population, it makes it that much harder for them to rule us. Again, I've mentioned this stuff before. And the accompanying documentary today is called The Money Masters, and all this will be in the show notes. It's a much older documentary from the, I think, late 80s, maybe early 90s. And I list newer documentaries if you want to look those up in my past videos. But this one is very thorough. It's almost like 3 hours long. It's kind of boring, but just shows how the bankers have pretty much always run society and how they're doing it now. And of course, the Great Depression, which I predict will be around the year 2030, exactly 100 years after the last one. And then we won't have the ability to fight back, which is why I'm sharing videos such as this, just to inform the general public. And I also give many more clues and hints in my books, so take all this with a grain of salt, or hopefully look more into it for yourselves.